Good evening and welcome to the September 4th Budget Committee meeting. We have a pretty firm agenda, but the first thing that we need to do is elect a chair. Currently, I sit as vice chair and Susan Kerr sits as secretary. That was voted on earlier this year. The chair was elected as Janet Robertson, who has since resigned. So I would like to nominate Lori Harmon as chair for the 2025 budget season, if you'll accept. Okay. I'll accept. Second? All in favor? Congratulations, Lori. Okay. But since you were just elected, I'll run the meeting for tonight if you're okay with that.
I'm perfectly fine. Thank you.
You're welcome. So the second thing that we want to talk about is really the budget season. And the selectmen are an integral part of that. A lot of the articles come from the board as well as the department heads. But what you're looking at here on the screen is a website so that we don't have to pass around spreadsheets to each other. And we can also share with the taxpayers at home what we're looking at for submissions and things like that. So Alicia, I believe, has already sent out templates for each of you to fill out, or department heads to fill out for the season. Those come back here, and you'll see here we have a different, I'll go to 2024 data collection process, because 2025. But out here we put the town clerk deadlines so that we understand when we need to have the warrant in. We put in our timeline. We put in some training templates so that if you guys needed training on the budget templates, we put that out here. We put any chart of accounts or any accounting reports that we get from the treasurer's office out here that help us align. So this was last year when we did the meeting. So we have now put one out here for 2025. And you can see we've done trio reports. These are the reports that we get. So we have our chart of accounts, we have our 2026 process, we have some of our 2024 entries and things like that. So there's a lot of data here. The select board as well as the budget committee have access to this. Okay, so when we meet with the different department heads, we're not shuffling and ruffling papers and you hear that crumpling noise at home and that static. When that all happens, we can bring it up, we can share with the public what we're looking at and what we're doing. Okay? Any questions about what's on the budget website? And I believe the select board, you all have username, passwords that were given to you to access this so that you can see. So basically what happens is Alicia comes through, she sends out the templates. The department heads, we typically give them 30 days to fill them out. They submit them back to Alicia, and Alicia loads them here, in which case we go over them. We do try, or we did last year, that was new, where we put a schedule together to meet with the department heads on a designated night. I don't know if we're going to do that again this year, because it did start, because we're getting a later start. And we do have some things that, you know, again, here is the budget committee docs. We now know that we have some actuals here for the school budget so that we know that presentation was here for what they voted on June 30th, 2025. We're just now starting to wait for the reports to come back. Those have been requested from the treasurer's office. And we are waiting for the different department heads as well as the select board to do their budget submissions. Now, we've had a request that I want to talk about. I don't think it's a surprise to anybody that we have had some mispostings in the financial statements in this town. The auditor has taken a lot of great lengths to go through and check those postings. The department heads are also going through and checking their postings to make sure that what's been posted to their budget is actually theirs. So the question has been posed, do we simply give each department head a flat increase? Because it's going to be very difficult for us to know the correct expenditures inside each individual budget this year. I will say that there will be some challenges if we choose to go down that road. How does the board feel about doing something like that? Just trying to get a sense.
I mean, they get typically, and I say typically because that could raise or lower, get the COLA 2.5% increase each year.
That is voted on by the public, that has been voted on to follow, that has not been rescinded. So yes, but this increase would be in addition to the COLA. And because we know things like fuel, the CMP bills, things such as that do go increase. So, you know, the question becomes is instead of taking, we can get all the reports back and wait to see what the department heads, you know, submit.
Yeah.
We isolate the capital, right? We're gonna move the capital out. So we're just talking about general operating expenses.
Okay.
So do we just want to simply say that to save ourselves a lot of time, energy, back and forth, trying to understand a lot of questions, do we just want to say simply, we're going to give them an X amount of an increase in addition to the COLA, if warranted?
For just, we're talking just the operating, not the capital projects,
Not the capital projects?
I think that's actually a good idea. I mean, if we can get an idea overall
Yep.
of what's been spent.
Overall, yes, but, you know, to say that we can isolate the rec department to the fire department to the library.
Right, but we could
say
look at-
community services has spent this amount, and we know that
Right.
that's the rec and the library.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying, I mean, we could go through and say, okay, this is how much they had for their operating expenses, just group them all together and look at what we're looking at for a total.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
And
that would make sense.
And I do think that we should still have the managers submit a budget to us, because there may be unforeseen things that we or the select board are unaware of that they may have on their agenda that they want to carry out in 2026. Okay. How does the board feel about that, since you're here?
Do you not think that the department heads are keeping track of their expenses?
I do think that the department heads are keeping track of their expenses, but now, Bernie, we're looking at a expense report by the department heads, we're looking at a treasurer's report, and we're looking at a submission, and we're trying to make sense of all three, right? And we have been very fortunate that our department heads are very responsible with their budgets, you know, and if there's an issue, they do talk to the board about that. So we could come back and ask them to submit their reconciliation along with their budget templates, if you'd like that in addition to that. We could make that request. I don't know that every department has done their own reconciliation to what the treasurer's reports are, or the trio reports, to say what's right or wrong. And that may cause more work for some of your department heads.
Well, I think they're willing to do it. I think the two biggest departments in town have a pretty good idea of what they spent. The postings may be wrong. I'm pretty sure the road commissioner is. He's up here several times a week trying to keep things straight on that end.
So the question becomes, Alicia, do we take and modify the template a little bit with a third column that says manager's reconciliation for their particular line items? And add that in, so that way the managers, we have their particular line items that they've done, and then we would look at the trio reports for their budget, and then we would look at you know, what their request is for 2026.
The other question I have, are we going to simplify some of these articles, that big public safety article, I'm sorry, it doesn't fly. Everybody complained about that last week. I think we need to break that down.
Well, that's up to the board. We don't produce the warrant. That would be the question for the board. But we have been asked to break out other departments, so that would make the ballot even longer. So it just depends on what the board's pleasure is.
It would make it if the ballot's longer.
It's,
The general
again,
public wants to know what they're spending on what, not have things grouped together.
okay, Howard, but again, it's the Board of Selectmen's warrant. So how you group or ungroup is really up to the 5 of you, not up to this committee.
I personally would rather see them separated out. It makes it easier for us for recommendations.
When we had a hearing up here last fall, people complained about things being complicated. People complained after voting when somebody says it took them 15 minutes to figure out what was up.
Yep.
That's a little bit ridiculous.
So that's a discussion.
Well, if the warrant's twice as big, I'm taking choices on, it'll be a 30 minutes.
Whatever.
But if it's,
They're still
Well, if they're
gonna have,
complaining 15, let's give them 30, and watch them complain even more.
I don't want to run into the same issue that we had last year where we have to have a special hearing
right,
because something got turned down because it was too lumped together.
yes.
But you're gonna end up having, how many special hearings are you gonna have starting in June, July, August? When
With the budget.
CMP upped their electric and there wasn't enough money for power, or something odd came up with the road commissioners, I mean, so you may have some in March because some things get voted down, but how many are you gonna have because you've pulled out every line item, like we're struggling to now to find money for trees, right? Like we had to vote the other night.
Yeah.
How many meetings like that are you gonna have this time of year?
Could potentially have many. Could potentially have many.
This is why I suggest you go through each department and look what they want, what they intend to spend or like to spend.
Right, and we're still going to do that, Howard, but overall, I don't think that we can get into the weeds as much as we normally do. Okay, because,
Any department that knows what they're doing, they're gonna look in and say, I need X amount of dollars of the old project they want, they're gonna look in and see, what's that gonna cost me? As opposed to going back and have a special town meeting, that's when you get in trouble.
That's what's left.
It's gonna say, you didn't plan for this?
no, you can come to the budget website and say, did you plan for that?
Some things you can't plan.
Some,
No, you can't.
you can't plan for a blown-out tire on a fire truck. I agree, you can't. Some things you can't plan for, you do your best, but that's where we look at the budget and we try to take the knowns and balance them with the unknowns, and the best we can.
I just think we need to make, and like you said, I guess that's between the 5 of us to sit down and figure that out, but we need to simplify that. Everybody was adamant over that at the hearing we had last year and afterwards, and quite frankly, some of us that opted to run for this position said we were gonna try and simplify things.
Yep.
And everybody that sat up there that was running said the same thing, so we owe it to the people to try and make it simple.
Well, you guys own the warrant, the 5 of you own the warrant, you put that together. So that's a board recommendation on how you want to do that.
I'd be interested in how you want to, are you gonna go line by line? Every line gets a budget item, and that's,
No.
Every department.
Every department gets an article. in
Every
the warrant.
department gets an article.
It used to be every department had an article, in the town report, there was a listing of what was paid, salaries were listed, expenses, and everything. We almost need to find a way to get back to that, so everybody can see what it is.
So that would be, so are you saying you want the salaries in its own separate article, or you?
No.
No. Oh, department.
Each department, the salaries are covered under that.
Yep, and they're broken out now on the green sheet, but they're not broken out necessarily on the article themselves. Are you saying you want to break them out onto the article? So like if you say the selectman's office is requesting, $5,000, you want to say salaries is this much, FICA is this much, supplies is this much in the article itself? Because I'm going to caution you a little bit about that. Okay? Because if you tell the people that you're going to break it out and spend that, I don't know, that is line item budgeting, and you take away the freedom for a department manager to move away from supplies to equipment, okay? Because you've told the people that's how you're going to spend this money in that article. Today, your department heads have a little bit of leeway, right? And I'm just gonna pick on the road commissioner because he's here. If he says, I need $5,000 for culverts and I need $6,000 for gravel, but he's now overspent his budget on culverts but underspent on gravel, he has the ability to just say, well, I have overall in my budget enough money to make that. And we leave that decision to them. But if you put that line item in the article, you've now line item budgeted, and we are now holding him accountable to only spending $5,000 on culverts. And if he has to, now he has to come back, and we may have to get a vote of the people.
Wasn't saying every line item
Okay.
has to be in there. It used to be, I know when I was on the fire, it was vote to raise, let's say $20,000, just for the sake of, for salaries and expenses, operation of Limerick Fire EMS. That's all it has to say. That article can say that.
Okay, and then if people want to know about the line items, you supplement that with the green sheet, what we refer to as the green sheet.
Yeah, you could show them what you spent.
You can list
I think a lot of the problem is that doesn't go out
You're not
in
telling them
advance.
Yeah, you're not telling them they have to, we don't do line item budgeting. You have to be able to move stuff.
But if I want to know what you're spending the $20,000 on, I need to see that line item. I need to see that line item, right? To say, how much is that salaries, and how much of that is equipment, and how much of that is maintenance?
And they used to have that breakdown. Look at the old town reports. It said what the salaries were,
When we were in,
what the expenses were, and it wasn't a line item budget. It was just,
but again, we could discuss that on a town floor. On a ballot, it's very different. You would now need to make sure that you have that green sheet posted in every single voter's ballot
Could we
box.
put it in a binder out front, each of the green sheets, on the table in the hallway?
They're usually there.
So they're available.
They're there.
they can take a green sheet, it can say Article 54, $20,000 for salaries and operation of Limerick Fire Department, and then they would have a breakdown of what the fire department spent.
Or what they're requesting for that
Well,
budget.
they have a breakdown of what they spent the prior year.
Well, they get that in they'll get that in their town report. They do get a breakdown of what they spent previously in their town report.
The old town reports always broke it down too.
I think they do now, don't they?
No, I mean, what Bernie's talking about, the individual line items. Now, as far as Ricky, I agree that he shouldn't be held for that. He's trying to make a little bit of flexibility, as long as he doesn't go over the budget.
As long as he doesn't go over the
That's bottom
total.
line.
Yeah, as long as
Right.
you don't go over the total budget, I don't, it doesn't make any difference if their first line item is $5,000 in the red and they had to take it from something else to cover it. It used to have a listing, on the fire department, had a listing of what the salaries were,
I thought that was
who
still in
got,
here.
who got paid what,
That was still in
maintenance and other administrative fees you had, and you could break it.
I've seen that in the report.
I was going to say, I thought that
Yeah,
was,
it's all itemized in
I
there.
was going to say, it's all here in your town report.
And usually that is outside the door on election day for sure, and usually in advance of election day.
Right.
I think there are people that don't have access to it beforehand and haven't reviewed it and come in blind, and unfortunately, if they have a question, I send them right back out the hall, so.
Yeah.
The green sheet should be in the town report. It's either one document, you have to look for this sheet and that sheet.
The green sheet's in the back of every town report.
Green sheet's in the back of every town
Green sheet's
report.
in the back of every town report.
I'm talking about,
In the voter box. You're talking about before the vote.
in the actual town report, for article, you show the expenses, what they're anticipating for expenses,
What they anticipate for inspections?
what the budget is.
Well, that's here in the articles.
But we shouldn't have to look at one article and then go over 15 pages to find something else. It should be all inclusive in that one article.
Here's your article, so that this is what they're requesting, this is what they were voting on. So that's what I'm confused.
Why you get a green sheet?
Because if you're asking me, and I'm just gonna pick on the road commissioner, again, because Ricky's here, so he knows I'm not being facetious, but if he's asking for $300,000, okay, I wanna know what he intends to do for that $300,000, right? That's on the green sheet. That's on the green sheet.
Why do you need the green sheet?
Because we don't line item budget, we don't put in the article, Howard, what the breakdown of that spending. Because that's line item budgeting, and when we do that, we take away the freedom for them to be able to move things like I just explained between gravel and culverts. Okay? But if we just give him a bulk of money, as long as he stays within that that total budget, he's okay. And he just reports to the select board that, hey, I overspent on my culverts, but I underspent on my gravel, so I took a little bit here and moved it, okay? But if you put this, if you take this and put it in the body of the article, you're then now telling the people, line item by line item, how they're going to spend their money. And you're now telling them, this is the only way you can spend your money.
Unless it is worded that he or she has the flexibility if they have to move something. But as long as they don't exceed their budget.
Well, you'd have to talk to the lawyer about that, about the wording.
All I know is it was done that way for years, and all of a sudden they got changed to that green sheet.
I think people are intimidated when they saw the public safety budget for $900,000 and everything that was in there. I just think we need to separate some of the departments out of that budget. And you can have a proposal on the green sheet off to the side of what they want to spend. They've already got what they spent last year on expenses.
You,
Can I ask a question about what you said? You're saying that we vote on $300,000 for a department,
mhm.
and that they now can spend it any way they want. That's what's bothering me. They can
They-
spend it, what's on the green sheet, or any way they want.
They don't have to adhere to the green sheet, because if something comes up,
Well, as a citizen, I would think that would be a problem.
because if, and here again, if Ricky forgot to put culverts into his budget as a line item, but he needed them, okay, and he has the money in his gravel budget, he can go buy culverts today.
We could just plan that every selectmen's meeting, just plan it for a public hearing and a special town meeting.
Good.
So we need to change money, because you're gonna do it on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So just do it every week. Have whoever comes to the meeting can vote. Every week we'll have a.
That's the other extreme, John.
Well,
My
That's what would happen.
problem with just saying that, here's your $300,000, spend it any way you want, I think that's not good. Because we've asked them to do a budget, we've asked them to go through a process, we've printed a green sheet. We think that's what they're going to spend the money on. Now, you're saying, now we've seen in the past, we saw $30,000 be spent, and it wasn't in the green sheet, and selectmen were just falling all over themselves when this department head did that. This
Yeah.
was years ago, okay? So, and it was never brought to light to the public, all right?
That's what started the green sheet, to give them
So
an.
there's the green sheet.
You have the
we have-
autonomy.
We have excellent department heads right now, every one of them, okay?
Well-
And I don't think any one of us here should be telling Ricky No, don't buy that extra culvert. No,
No, don't do that one.
No, you can't have it. Figure out a better way.
Don't cut any more heads of this tree.
Don't cut any more trees, don't stop, because we know better than you. All right, let us tell you how to do your job.
We're just asking
It's ridiculous.
to stay within, if you want to borrow from the culverts to buy more dirt, we're not saying that's a problem. We're saying when you want to step outside what you said you needed.
You
Okay.
can't tell what you're gonna need because
He's got X amount of dollars,
Can't tell that.
and if he realizes in June, man, it's been a great year, and we didn't have a bunch of washout, but now I can do this
Now I can do this
Now I
project.
can do some extra stuff I didn't plan on doing, because I've got the money, right?
He comes to the select board, he says, we didn't have as much washout this year, so I've got X amount of dollars. I want to switch it over to this project.
Well, it's like rec right now.
You do that, you're doing that now. What's wrong with that? But but you're saying they don't have to, they can just do
They
it.
can just do that. They don't.
Okay. Why
They've always
wouldn't-
been able to.
That's,
No, they haven't always been able to.
well, there's a guideline to it that.
Then why vote at all? Just give us one number like the school department does and we'll be done.
okay with that.
Yeah.
Have you looked at it?
My birthday's back.
Why would you go?
But this is why you have the select board who looks at the warrants every week to make sure that you guys are spending within line. Because if you're spending something outside that necessarily wasn't budgeted for, they can ask the questions prior to signing the invoice to be paid. So there is a little bit of a check and balance here, but
Or the purchase order system.
or there is the purchase order system that should be in place and being used so that large purchases are known before they're, and approved before. But we've seen glitches with the purchase order system, so, you know,
I'm sorry we got off on this tangent.
No,
I just
no.
wanted to separate some of the departments out so people aren't looking at this whole big expenditure.
one of the things that I proposed was that you break out the salaries. We have seen salaries buy furniture because they didn't use all the money for the salary, because a
Supplies
person
pay
left.
for salary.
Or supplies pay for salary. But you can do that. You can absolutely do that. In today.
So poor Rick sitting here, I feel bad because you're the only one.
No, go ahead.
How many yard lines are over budget?
I'm looking at it now, and there is a couple over because we took a beating on the signs.
Well, Ricky's is hard because he didn't do his budget last year.
Yeah, no, I'm just.
No, but,
It was hard because he didn't do it, somebody else did.
I know, I feel bad because we're picking on you.
That's okay. We're all neighbors.
Victor's trying.
No, I am over budget on a few things, and I was under the understanding that there's a few accounts in here that we're probably not going to utilize the whole account, so, and I asked Julie about it. I says, look, I says, you know, I can't say no to signs because it's public safety, and when we did Emery Corner Road, we had to put so many signs up warning the change of the intersection.
And that was an unforeseen thing.
But-
That
And
was-
we kind of overdid it because of a sudden change, you know, between the painting. And we did a little dirt work there to prevent some erosion on the side of the road. We fixed a catch basin, and there was a bad car accident there that we're all aware of, so we cleaned up the broken telephone pole. While we were there, we just wanted to do it all and clean it right up.
Right.
And that was unforeseen on my part, but I had to make it happen because
So let me state, based on the last report I have, which would have been August 1st, I haven't seen anything since, your department's doing phenomenal, right?
You're under,
You were at 45% spent
yeah,
3/4 of the way through the year. So
right.
overall, you're doing that's a department, that's a reason why when we set commitment 3 weeks ago, that we have money left to offset, and we can hold the tax at $9.50 and not go to $10, right? Because of the way guys like this run their department, okay? He's doing what needs to be done, not wasting money,
Oh.
but getting into the budget season, I would say to you, and I know this is minor, you've got a $805 expense, I know it's a little bit, for heavy equipment. And you have zero money budgeted for heavy equipment. You got any idea what that is? and I don't think this is on you, I'm just.
As in what? I've got power equipment is 805.
805 for power equipment.
Yeah, that's weed whackers and sweepers and chainsaws. We get $5 an hour for those, you know.
But you had no budget.
But you had no budget.
Right.
Which is fine.
Which, I'm not saying, but you have other equipment areas.
Yeah, we used a lot of that during sweeping too.
And
Power
again,
brooms and,
it's-
yep.
I'm not.
No, go ahead, John.
You're done great, like the small equipment. I'm just wondering how we have an expense in a line that we have no budget for. Either belongs somewhere else, or.
I kind of jumped into this blindsided,
I know.
and I'm trying to pick up. And there was a few things that, you know, I jumped on that needed to be addressed, and, you know, a lot of stuff was taken care of, but I just figured the first day that I was elected, the phone rang, and it's like, do you mind taking a look at this? I said, sure.
So I mean, you've got a budget for mowing and sweeping.
Yeah, he has
Yes.
a budget for mowing and sweeping.
So
So-
why isn't, if you're using a sweeper or a weed whacker,
Why isn't that
why
in
isn't it
that?
in the mower and sweeping line?
But these are the,
This
these are the things,
This is under,
but these are the things that I don't want to spend our time doing, John.
You're exactly right, that's why I'm pointing this out right now, because if we take this report or the newest one, right, we say, hey, he needs $800 for something different, right, because he clearly spent it, needed it.
And he's overdrawn.
And he's overdrawn because it had no budget. So we ought to budget him $1,000 for weed whackers and sweepers. But yet, if it was put in the right line,
We would have looked like he probably met
he's
budget.
right on, and there's plenty of
Right.
money for his budget. That's the difficulty in trying to budget this year with the reports we're gonna get.
Yes.
And that's one item, one department. And I'm not
you
saying.
know, I use this as a guideline too.
Yeah, and that's
Because like
okay.
that was me and Charles were talking, and, you know, we've got several things going. I've got other people, I got Scott helping us doing mowing, my brother's helping us, and we're trying to, you know, there's a couple other contractors out there that has helped us out in the
Your
past.
numbers are phenomenal based on what I'm seeing.
But I use this as a guideline.
Even to somebody else doing your budget, we were like, here you go.
Right.
Well, I'm just trying to use it where we can use it, and if there's a surplus in a certain spot, I would like to utilize that someplace else,
And you have that
and plan
autonomy to
ahead.
do, you have that autonomy to do that today.
Right. But I think this justifies as far as, you know, X amount of dollars for supplies, you got cold patch and stuff like that. That gives us a guideline to what we are allowed to kind of budget to do these certain things, so we're all over the place sometimes. If we're out and we have a washout, we've got to jump on that real quick.
Right. But you may not need your full 35,000 for aggregate if you don't have a lot of washout. So you may come up with some very large potholes somewhere else that you need to use your coal patch for.
Well, there's a few dirt roads that are gonna need some attention this fall, but you're right. You know, if we have a little bit left over, put it someplace where it can
And
be.
it should be like, Charlie just said,
You should have that autonomy
you
to
can
do
spend the
that.
town money on dangerous trees, right? You can go all over town, okay?
Yeah.
You've got $5,000 in the line for culverts. Apparently, you haven't bought one culvert yet this year.
We have a small list, but
And maybe you've got some planned,
Yep.
but if you think you're gonna spend $2,000 on culverts, and you think it's in the best interest to go out and cut $3,000 worth
Of hazardous trees, then that's what you
well,
do.
the hazardous trees is a big thing right now, you're right.
You should be looking at your budget and saying, I've got a lot, I don't wanna say extra money, and I'm not advocating everybody just goes out and spends it all, but when you're running your department so well, and if you keep going the way you're going, you're gonna give a lot of money back.
But that's where you
Right,
come
which
back
is-
to the selectmen and you say, hey, listen, I've got the money in cold patch or aggregate, and we have some hazardous trees. We just want to take and spend that money on hazardous trees. Is there a problem? I could tell you right now, this board's not going to give you an ounce of
No,
problem.
but I would definitely run it by you, absolutely.
And that's,
It's just keeping them informed of what you're doing.
Right, that's
Okay.
why we do like an itemized date by date and which projects we worked on, and we try to give them a familiarity of what we did that week, like a spreadsheet of what day and what roads, and
Right.
and
And that's
A lot
what
of the
we,
boards are already out there, you know, riding around checking this stuff out, which,
right. We're looking at things like, you're not taking your aggregate and going and buying a desk for your house.
Can I?
we're all set there.
You know what I'm gonna be looking at you going, Charlie, what are you up to?
No, but when it comes to something like that, I'd like to get together with Cesario, the plow guy, and just say, hey, you know, there's a couple roads that are gonna need a little attention. It might make it a little easier for the public to get in and out, and it also make it easier for him to plow and turn around. That's what we did up the Win Griffiths Road.
Right.
So, we're not 100% finished up there, but we wanted to get it to a point where it's passable and everybody's happy, and he's
Right.
gotta plow it, he plowed, you know, it was open,
There's a lot of traffic on Quarry Road now.
yes.
When you come by something, I mean, you see a bad tree tomorrow, you should be able to say to yourself, like, I'm not waiting.
I gotta
till
put that on the
Sunday.
schedule.
I'm gonna schedule it, I'm gonna get it cut, and if it's gonna come down now, it comes down now, and you come in next Monday and say, hey, this tree was bad, in my judgment, had to come down. Take it down, because the money's there for it. But if we get into where we're
Line
we're
item,
going out line item by line item and saying, you've got $5,000 for trees, well.
now we're gonna have a special town meeting to
now we can
move
money.
out of the aggregate line to tree.
Let's hope the tree doesn't
Just so
fall.
you know, on that last year's budget, on the green sheet, it says power equipment, there is no money.
Power equipment,
Correct,
that is right.
yeah.
But he's talking
So
about,
why would somebody, so if we have zero money budgeted, why would you put an expense in that line?
but Howard, he was talking about he was using a weed whacker, right? To me, weed whacker's mowing. He has $8,000 for mowing. So
Why
why,
would you, if you had a budget of zero,
I think
why would you
that's,
try to spend from a zero budget line?
I think that mowing is for roadside sickle bar.
it's mowing. It just says mowing, period.
And it is, there's plenty of money there to do everything we need to do. It's just a matter of getting it in the right lines so that you can budget effectively,
Right,
right?
right.
When this
But
all-
if you wanted to be specific and go and say, this is mowing for side of the roads, this is mowing for this is mowing, you guys are you're gonna be on this never-ending budget.
Right.
And you guys are gonna kill yourselves trying to figure out where you put all of this expense.
You're trying to say keep it simple, but have a definition of what is
Yes,
getting mowed, whether it's
mowing.
weed whacking or mowing the side of the road.
Right, in
Okay,
general.
I got you.
We're- You know, if you have to go weed whack up at the turnaround or whatever, a turnaround, do that, because it should come out of your mowing budget in addition to mowing your side roads.
That $805 could have come out of two places.
Two places,
It
two or
could have
three.
been under light duty.
Yes,
That light duty can be anything from a chainsaw to a half-ton pickup, maybe, I don't know. But it just shouldn't be a line by itself and overspent with no explanation, not by you. But how would it ever gotten a line like that?
I have no idea. When this all first started,
Yeah.
I wasn't familiar with the codes, so every time I turned in a bill, I would say, we want to double check this to make sure my code's in the right spot, and,
Right.
you know, and then, of course, the purchase orders, writing the purchase orders out. I try to put the purchaser's orders on, not just what we purchased, or like the signs, I put it on their slip, and I put it on my slip,
Yep.
and I photocopy it, so.
right, right.
But I had to ask a lot of questions so I could get it right.
Yeah,
Okay?
it's
And
not easy.
Yeah, and
And
I
we're
was a
trying to
little-
keep it simple for you.
that's fine, that's
And
fine.
also give you the autonomy to have a little bit of flexibility so that you can handle those things that are unforeseen
No,
within your budget.
I appreciate
And
that.
just come up and talk to the board so that they're not taken off guard that, you know, you're buying something or doing something that it's just communication. That's it.
Absolutely. That's fine with me. Let's keep it rolling.
Keep it rolling. Keep
Thank
it
you.
simple. You're welcome. So you guys talk about how you want to do the warrant, okay? That's my recommendation. And we will try to roll. If you want to put in, I would encourage putting in a line item with the manager's expenditures so that we can see where they think their line item expenditures are and what they want to budget for. given the fact that we may have some difficulty with the trio reports. And then we can look at it in total and decide if we want to just do a straight across once we start getting. A bulk of these articles belong to the selectmen, Howard.
What you're telling me?
And honestly, your biggest departments are the fire department and, you know, the transfer station outside of this building. So,
And the roads.
the roads, but the roads are pretty simple. You know, tarring is tarring, you know. But I think is there anything, other topics you guys want to cover? The select board or the budget committee?
Any idea how long until we start getting templates back?
I think next week some of them will come back.
We asked them until we gave them until the 30th, I believe.
We gave them, I think I did the 26th, I wrote, so I
The
expect
26th.
that they'll like, but I think, like I said, some of them already been working on them anyway.
Mhm. And there is a couple of Thursdays that we have some town business going on, so we're not able to meet those nights anyway, that this room is booked. So, you know, we could start meeting October 2nd on a weekly basis, if you wanted. The other question is do you want to put a schedule together to go over and meet, or do you want to wait till the budgets come back and then decide if we want to meet with the department head? I don't want to waste their time if it's not needed.
Right.
Yeah, I said this the 26th.
The 26th.
I mean, my suggestion, if we're gonna look at them ahead of time, you know, maybe meet on the 2nd, look at the ones we've gone over.
And I'll let you know when I put any on too. Like I
Okay.
get them and put them on.
Mm-hmm.
I'll
Okay.
make sure, so you know that I've done.
Okay. You know, if we can look at it, look at what's come in on October 2nd,
I just
see
don't,
if there's any issues. If there is, then we can schedule it for the next week,
okay,
for the ones that we have issues on.
okay. If you want to do that, yep, can do that.
But do we want to set a deadline, a hard deadline this year, that if we don't get one, it doesn't change from last year?
We tried that last year and it didn't really work well.
Yeah, because people kept changing it.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I don't
I don't want
know
to
if
run
that-
into they didn't have a problem with it, let's modify. Oh, they still didn't have a problem, let's modify.
I'm going to leave that up to the select board to decide if you want to continually modify the budget. You have the timeline, you have the dates.
I just don't want to be having emergency meetings because,
We're all very busy around the holidays. And I'd have to go back and look, but I believe everything is due by like January 3rd.
I think it's, yeah.
The last meeting is so that means that, you know,
Except we
2
spent
weeks before
Christmas
that.
Eve here,
we
too.
spend Christmas Eve usually.
and I really don't want to do that this year.
That's like what it really comes down to is that.
So, you know, you can say to the department heads, there are some articles that have to wait because we need final payroll numbers and we need final things like workers' comp and some things. But for the most part, a majority of the budgets
budgets
can be done ahead of time. But
Without COLA put in, because that's usually a
that'll
delay.
come in October 15th. We'll know that by October 15th.
Okay.
So, you know, that's not a big deal. That's usually announced. So I'll leave that up to the select board.
Us too, like,
Yeah.
I'll send an email tomorrow again about a couple of.
You know, do you want to say that come November 1st, budget submissions are final and not changed? Except for maybe
No
the
longer
selectmen's.
accepted.
Or no longer accepted outside of the selectmen's articles.
That's what you don't get it in, you get a 0.
There you go.
Well, I don't know that you can do that, Howard.
But going with last year's budget,
They just go to last year.
Come out and shut down half the town.
Yeah,
So, let's do it.
We'll fight it.
you, My recommendation would be that if they do not submit a budget, that they get the same as last year. And they have to make it work, Howard. That would be my recommendation, and not necessarily give them a 0. Because you're now incurring costs by having town meetings, and you're incurring us having to come back here and approve the articles. You're just incurring costs, so that you're beneficial to just say,
That's fair.
we'll give you the same amount as last year.
I mean, do we want to say by October 9th, anything submitted after that, no go? They get last year's? And nothing else is accepted?
Wait until at least,
I would give them to November,
yeah, because COLA will be in that, and.
November 1st is a Saturday,
There's
so
So by
October 31st.
contracts have to wait for that come in October or something, so I think November 1st would be reasonable, or November.
Halloween, the 31st.
Yeah.
You could say the 31st. That gives them 2 months, Howard, to put their budget together. So,
A lot of them we've already been having discussions.
and quite frankly, this comes around every year. It shouldn't be a surprise. A lot of our department heads are seasoned.
They are, I think Rick is the only one that
Is new?
Is new.
so.
I just caught, like, the rec department was very late last year, so I, if he has capital things that he wants to do in programming, he usually waits till the last minute, so it would be great if we could jump on him a little bit faster. But worst case scenario, he gets the same budget again, so, and he may be okay with that. Any other questions or concerns? Meeting Thursday nights okay for everybody still?
So not again until the 2nd.
Not again until October 2nd. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but the 11th and the 25th, this room is taken?
Well, it's not taken, but the board can't be here.
The board can't be here.
They're both at the fire station.
And
You're right.
we enjoy that participation back and forth, that banter, as John calls it.
Like I said, I'll share with you anything that comes in.
Okay. So our next meeting will be October 2nd. Is that okay with everybody?
That will
Okay.
work for me.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn if there's no other questions or concerns. Okay. All in favor? Good night.
Night.
Oh, God, I'm using the wrong password.
What were you thinking? And Alicia, you'll send me the email?
Yes, I got to talk about this.
No, we just do it. I know, but it's.
I can't.
Will it have instructions for getting it set up in Outlook? Okay. Perfect.
And then I'll give you a generic password, but it will ask you when you put it on.
When I log in,
I'll ask you to change it.
yeah. That works.